Welcome everyone to the Pet Club 24/7 call. Getting started a minute late. Sorry about that. I wanted to clean up my recording so this one would record. And anyway, really appreciate everyone being here tonight. I'm gonna do something a little bit different tonight. I actually, you know me, I don't pull any punches. Whatever I talk about, I go for it, full steam. And I just want to go over basically the state of affairs in the health and wellness arena. And then ultimately, I want to end with the common sense that we can participate in and how we as a group and as a team can have an impact. And I think we can have a great impact, actually, because of what we have. And I want to just go over some of the statistics in the health and wellness arena. You've heard me mention it in the past. Health spending in the United States alone is $4.9 trillion a year. That's over $17,000 for every man, woman, and child in the United States. And it's a system that is overburdened because of the cost. And we talk a lot about, in meetings and things and in government, we talk a lot about who's going to pay for it and how it's going to be paid. But the reality is it's a system that deviated from wellness long ago and became more about profit. And so in that deviation, we had somebody with an open mic. Lisa, I think you have an open mic. If you can mute, please. Appreciate it. In that broken model, and I know many dedicated medical doctors, and they themselves are frustrated that they're actually managing symptoms, that they're actually in sickness care, not health care. It's not about health. It's not about wellness. It's about finding a diagnosis. And once you have that diagnosis, there's a standard of care, and you have to follow that standard of care in terms of your treatment. If you deviate from it, you could be liable and you could lose your license. So no one wants to deviate from the standard of care. And I know many of my dedicated medical friends who tell me that I know a particular patient, I would love to counsel them on getting more exercise, changing their diet. And I know we could solve a lot of their issues if they would do that, if they would start becoming, just change lifestyle. But that's not what people expect these days. If you go to your doctor, let's say you have a sniffle, there's some reason you go to your doctor, you want a prescription. You want the doctor to do something. So they typically write a prescription and they know that there are better ways, but it fits in the standard of care. All along, we literally ignore the tens of thousands of studies that do these kinds of things. They reveal the impact of diet and lifestyle on health. They reveal the impact of environmental pollutants on our health. And with over 80,000 approved chemicals, and many of those approved chemicals are not allowed in other countries. Some of those chemicals are even manufactured in other countries and sent here because they can't use them in their own countries. But we use them. And reveal the impact of high-frequency communication tech on our health. There are tens of thousands of these studies, but we ignore them. In the pollutants, there's numerous heavy metal toxins. That includes mercury, lead, aluminum, bromine. In everyone's body, you analyze on a cellular level people, and just randomly, you will find that everyone has toxic levels of mercury, lead, aluminum, and bromine, exceeding the limit that's accepted. That's an acceptable limit, and these are even being sprayed into our air. So it's really hard to control these kinds of things. There's 1 billion pounds of toxic pesticides applied to our crops every year. 99% of the farmland in the United States is sprayed with these toxic chemicals. There's been 8 billion tons of plastic that's been produced since plastic was invented about 100 years ago. And when it breaks down into microplastics that end up in our air, in our waterways, they end up in our wildlife, they end up in livestock, they end up in our fish, they end up in our own bodies. And recent studies have revealed that our brains are now 0.5% plastic. When they analyze brains, that's recent studies have revealed that. All of this alters gene expression, it alters our microbiome, it affects the gut lining, which affects liver function, and the liver has 600 known functions, everything from enzymes to hormones to lipids to sugars to our immune cofactors and metabolic cofactors. All of this contributes to elevated disease rates. And with $4.9 trillion being spent yearly, we outspend the next 10 countries below us combined. And yet we rank number 48 in life expectancy. So obviously all of that money spending doesn't make us healthier. In the past 2 decades, diabetes has increased by 28%. 2 out of 3 people are classified as obese. Heart disease, the #1 killer, kills 17.9 million people each year. That's more than all the murders, all the wars, all the car accidents, all the suicides combined. The sperm production in males in the past 20 years has been cut in half. In the past 30 years, the cancer statistics, when you actually find places that tell you honestly, they're skyrocketing. But incidence of diseases like ADHD, Alzheimer's, autism, bipolar in youth, celiac disease, chronic fatigue syndrome, depression, diabetes, fibromyalgia, hypothyroidism, osteoarthritis, sleep apnea, along with cancer, all on the rise, in spite of everything that we throw at it, all the money that's donated, it's like throwing it into a black hole. We haven't even begun to talk about diet. Diet is appalling in this country.
You go to Europe,
For every serving,
you know what? Nobody's fat in Europe. Very few.
like, be careful there. Thank you, buddy. For every serving of ultra-processed food, early mortality is increased by 18%. This is from our current Surgeon General saying this. This makes ultra-processed food makes up 67% of the food our children are eating currently. 67%. And yet 1 serving increases early mortality by 18%. 82% of independent published studies show harm from processed food, while 93% of industry-sponsored studies show no harm. So that tells you that the conflict of interest affects the studies. 95% of people who created the recent USDA food guidelines for Americans have significant conflict of interest with the food industry. In medical school, there's 0 classes in nutrition. And that's what's said by our current Surgeon General, a graduate, Casey Means, a graduate of Stanford University, top of her class. 0 nutrition in medical school. There's over 100 subspecialties in medicine. And she even said, they teach you how to drug, to cut, and to bill. And we are choosing to believe that we can be separate from nature and we can continue to poison ourselves. And yet, medical error and medication are the #3 cause of death, only behind heart disease and cancer. The professional medical associations take in tens of millions of dollars from companies like Coca-Cola, Cadbury, processed food companies, and vaccine manufacturers. Medical journals are no different. This includes formerly respected journals like the Lancet, New England Journal of Medicine, and others. Testimony of Dr. Marcia Engel, former editor-in-chief of the New England Journal of Medicine, warned that it is no longer a science journal and called it a vessel for pharmaceutical propaganda. So what can we do about all of this? And as an individual, it's overwhelming. If I looked at this, I would just want to go off and find a little hut somewhere or live in a cave, because what could I possibly accomplish? But that's one of the great things about network marketing. We as a group of people can help educate people. What we have in the Coriolis versicolor mushroom, we have something that has been used since ancient times. It's been recognized by ancient peoples. Even the ancient Egyptians recognized it and used it as they knew it promoted longevity. The ancient Romans knew that it was a health tonic and they included it in their diet. It was used throughout Europe, all throughout ancient times, but especially in Asia, it's been incorporated into their pharmacopoeia, into many of their remedies. And it's just common sense. And it has been common sense for millennia. And yet it was in Asia that it was standardized because, and we are aware of this because the co-founder of Petclub 24/7, Simon Liu, when his mother was diagnosed with an extreme lung affliction, she was going to Sloan Kettering for treatment. And initially the prognosis wasn't good, but she wanted whatever they could do for them to do. So they did everything medically possible. And at the end of that, they explained that they couldn't help her, that she only had a month and a half to 2 months to live. And that's when Simon was calling family members, which included a family member in Japan, who is a physician working with a team of researchers that were standardizing the Coriolis versicolor mushroom. And in that endeavor, they discovered there were over 200 varieties globally. And because of modern technology, now here you have this ancient wisdom that's been recognized throughout time. Now we have the ability to analyze things, electron microscopy and spectrographic analysis, all of these different things, and chemically, to ascertain what is it that makes it so effective. And in doing that, they could track all the different varieties, all of the 200 plus varieties, and pinpoint the one that was most potent and most pure. And so they found that and started working with that one, cultivating that one. And then they found at different stages of its life, they had different levels of potency. So they found the most potent time was mycelia phase. It hasn't broke through the ground yet. It hasn't become an actual mushroom. It's not in its fruited body. It's a mycelia. It's underground. And they started working with that. And then they found it was very difficult to take those amazing substances and compound and actually process it and keep it intact. So through trial and error, they figured out how to properly process it so that they could bring all of the bioactive polysaccharides, all of the glucans, everything that this amazing whole food brings to the table, and they accomplished it. So upon finding out about Simon Liu's mother, the cousin said, will she try this? And of course she'll try it because they're giving her no hope. So they sent it over, they expressed it because she had very little time left. And she started taking this in capsule form. And long story short, 4.5 months later, she was feeling like her old self. She was surprised really that she was even still living. She was back at Sloan Kettering. They ran all the tests and she was no evidence of disease. And the doctors were shocked and they wondered what she did. And when she told them, they said, we can hardly believe it, but can you have some sent so we can study it? That's where it all began at Sloan Kettering. They started studying it and found out it was an amazing immune system modulator. So amazing that MD Anderson picked it up, went to Loma Linda University, went to Harvard, went to numerous other universities. The American Cancer Society sponsors studies all around the country. And now to the tune of over 400 published studies, all saying the same thing. So you've got something where you have use for millennia, people experiencing throughout time the benefits of this. Now modern technology has standardized it and figured out what it is that makes it so potent and powerful and proven it and now studied it, all saying the same thing. I mean, that's a science that's beyond any reproach. It's just, it's classic. So we as a team, in terms of educating people around common sense, it's just common sense to listen to ancient wisdom now proven by modern technology. So that is vitally important that we do this to help change the health and wellness of the world. But there are some other things that we need to just talk about. And as a team, we need to be an example for. And I think that's one of the things we need to realize. We can be an example of how to live. And I think that's part of it. We can't tell people how to live. We're an example of how to live. And it includes becoming more active. It's been found that on average, people walk less than 3,500 steps a day. We know a lot of people sit at home, they're on their screens, their computer screens, they're looking at their TV, they're sitting on the couch looking at their phone. They're walking less and less and less. And yet science has proven that at least 7,000 steps a day, you go out and go for a walk around a couple of blocks, get 7,000 steps a day, it decreases the risk of many diseases radically. In fact, Alzheimer's disease has been proven by modern research. If you actually get out and go for a walk every day, drops your risk of Alzheimer's by over 40%. American children spend less time outdoors than prisoners in maximum security prisons. 93% of time, the adults, 93% of the time spend indoors. Even though we know the value of being in sunlight to the circadian rhythms, and the circadian rhythms affect your cellular biology in a big way. We know that, and yet we stay inactive and we stay inside by and large. Another thing that we can do, we can eat a little more simply. Avoid the processed foods. Stop eating when you're 75% full. There's something that happens, it's a genetic thing, I think. Throughout in old times, you know, as we've evolved on this planet, you didn't know where your next meal, if you had you bagged a deer, you would eat a lot because you didn't know when you would do that again. So your DNA is telling you to survive, you have to eat. So we still don't resist that urge to just stuff ourselves. And one of the issues is your stomach stretches, and once it stretches, your satiety center loses its ability to signal that you're full. So it takes a little practice, but if you actually practice it, you can stop eating before you're completely full. And you'll reach a place where you realize that you actually are, your satiety is there. You've had enough to eat. And that's really important because we tend to overeat. In traditional Chinese medicine and Ayurvedic medicine, they would recommend people push away from the table before they were full. Another thing we do is we become more aware of hydration. And hydration doesn't mean just drinking more and more and more water. For example, if you're drinking distilled water, you could be leaching the minerals from your body. It could be not getting into your cells. There's a difference between extracellular and intracellular hydration. You need the water in your cells, and that requires minerals. And one of the things in our diet, the standard American diet, the big deficiency is in trace minerals. A common deficiency is actually magnesium. Somebody's got an open mic. I think Francis Caldwell, you have no? Yeah, Francis, you have an open mic. Thank you. So we definitely need to make sure we're getting the minerals, the electrolytes. If you are drinking distilled water, add a little bit of pinch of Himalayan salt or Redmond's real salt or Celtic sea salt. Just a pinch. Francis, you still? I'm gonna have to try to mute you. Here we go. That's another important thing that we can teach people and that we can do. Of course, we use the Coriolis versicolor on a daily basis, and we help educate people on the benefits of doing that. There's a broad spectrum of benefits. There's bioactive polysaccharides that include PSP and PSK. These were discovered in the research. The polysaccharide peptide and the polysaccharide crestin are two of the polysaccharides, but there's many. Just to give you an example, the polysaccharide crestin was the one that in Asia they found was really good with the cancer type people. And the polysaccharide peptide was really good defeating viruses, even tough viruses like the oncovirus. That's the one that causes hepatitis C and HPV virus, which causes cervical cancer. Very tough to deal with those oncoviruses, but PSP is really good at it. That's just part of it. There's many different free radical scavengers, 38 different phenolic compounds, all kinds of different compounds, very diverse, this Coriolis versicolor mushroom. In Asia, it was known as the cloud mushroom, both in China and in Japan. In traditional Chinese medicine, it's known as yunji. In Japan, karwarataki. In 1578, the physician Li Xinjin wrote, "The cloud mushroom is beneficial to one's spirit, vital energy, strengthens one's tendons and bones. If cloud mushroom is taken for a long time, it will make one vigorous and contribute to a long life." That was in 1578. So they've known it throughout time. And now, as I mentioned, over 400 published studies, including Sloan Kettering, MD Anderson, Loma Linda, and Harvard, all saying the same thing. It's an amazing immune system modulator. The final thing we can do to help people live longer and healthier is find a passion. Find something that keeps you going. And it's been shown over and over and over again, when someone retires, doesn't matter if they're a fit athlete, a very successful CEO, or a school teacher, or whoever it is, when they retire, very often they die soon after. And they've lost their passion. They've lost their reason for being here. And if you lose your passion and you lose your reason for being here, your body begins to shut down. So these are the things that we can do. But in terms of a passion, it does not get any better than the industry we're in. Actually having something that we know that people need. Think about it. We have a product that's been studied by the top institutions, health institutions in the world. And they all say the same thing: amazing immune system modulation. And what's immune system modulation? That means getting your immune system correct. And our immune system was created to be able to deal with whatever we face in the world. Our immune system was created to allow us to live a long life, even beyond 100 years. I think we're programmed to live to 115, 120 years if things are all properly running. And the immune system is the one that runs that show. It's in every cell of the body and affects every cell of the body and affects every organ system. It's the thing that allows us to live longer, stronger, better lives. It's the thing that affects not only our gut and our liver with 600 known functions, and our immune system and our brain, our mood and our focus and everything that we are. It's the cornerstone. It's the general. It's the one in charge. And so if we can modulate that, and how I feel, I think because of all of those things that are working against us that I just covered, all of the heavy metals, all of the 80,000 approved chemicals, all of the communication technologies that we have to deal with, all of the even medicines and things that are recommended, all of these things that tend to work against the immune system, we need something that works for the immune system, and everybody does. So what a great mission. If you know this, you want to talk about it. You want to share it. And you don't have to sell it. When you talk with people that are new and they say, oh, I don't know if I can do this, my whole family just told me no, I get that. If anybody thinks you're trying to sell them something, people don't like to be sold, no more than anybody wants to sell something. But when you have something that goes from your head into your heart and you just share, people hear it from a different level. You're not trying to sell anyone on it. You're doing it out of love. You're doing it out of kindness and caring. You're doing it because you know, and that sense of knowing speaks differently to people, and they will hear it differently. And that's why we do these calls. We do it to help share stories. We do it to help share concepts. We do it to help you see through the veil and understand the power of what you have. Because if you know what you have and it does go into your heart, you will be successful. And the only way to know what you have is to experience it over time. Come to these calls and hear the stories. And once you experience it, you become a different person. You become a conduit. And people will even be led to you. People appear because they're drawn to that knowing. They're drawn because they need what you've got. And the billions of people in the world need what we have. So they will be drawn to us. It's just a matter of coming from the right place. And if you come from that place, it's just a matter of time before you're massively successful. And in this company, it's cookie cutter. I love that it's cookie cutter. It's just make that first rank, which is regional director, really, regional manager, and create regional managers. And you'll go all the way to the top. You'll go to regional director, you'll go to regional vice president, and you'll go to national vice president. Boom, 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 boom. And along the way, you'll pick up all the bonuses and you'll keep earning deeper and deeper and deeper. And just like Hernan says, every time he trains, just a regional director, you can replace your income on your job. He did. And I saw it too. At regional vice president, you can replace a double household income. And at national vice president, that's legacy money. That's the kind of money that is generational. So we can all attain that just by coming from the right place and sharing. And that was my intention of going over all of what I went over on this call, that we have a mission to help change the direction from profit-based sickness care and help people take more responsibility. The profit-based system can still be there, will always be there, really. But if people use common sense and take more personal responsibility and do the things I covered, including more movement, eating more simply, using the Coriolis versicolor, finding your passion, you do these kinds of things and we do it as a team, we change the world. And you'll see that over time. Just a matter of time that this would be in most countries in the world. We already shipped to 53 countries. We're getting ready to open to ship from warehouses in Canada to Canadians. The same thing is going to be opening in Mexico, South America, Australia, and Europe. It's just a matter of time over the next couple of years. So this family is going to begin to expand way beyond borders. There are no borders in this business. And you'll have family in every quadrant of the world. And it's just an amazing thing because you know you've changed lives. And in some cases, even saved lives. Now, I will emphasize that this is not a miracle product. There is no miracle product. The miracle is life. But that's part of what we teach, because this is a whole food. It's grown organically in organic greenhouses, and it's a food. It just doesn't treat, it doesn't cure, but what it does do is it feeds the immune system. It helps to modulate the gut. It supports liver function. It supports brain function. It supports immune function. And that's life, and allows life to manifest as God intended. So that's what we have. It's huge. It's mission worthy. And I feel so blessed to be a part of it. And I just want to convey that to every one of you any chance I get. So I was talking with Barry right before the call. And I wonder, Barry, if you could say, because you had a situation that happened. First of all, you were telling me about a testimonial that you had, but then you also said that it was like providential thing happened where someone was drawn to you, and it was quite, was beyond coincidental. Barry, do you mind telling us the story?
Jerry, I'd be honored to, but me and my wife have collected so many stories over the last few months that it's hard to keep track of them. But what you said today is so key. People are being drawn to us. Once you see this company and what this product is doing, you can't unsee it any longer. And once it goes, what you just said, and I've heard Kristen say that too, when it goes from your head to your heart, that's where the magic starts to happen, and people are drawn to you. And yes, me and my wife have seen several miracles. You know that. I've expressed those to you. But the latest after this autoimmune disease that I had, that the top neurologist in the Western states said, Barry, I can't do anything for you. You've got an autoimmune disease. There's so many of them out there, I can't tell which one it is. You're going to have to learn to live with the pain, or we're going to have to put you on really strong drugs. That's when God touched you, Jerry, and you touched me, and this whole journey began. I haven't had to learn to live with the pain. For the last 3 months, it's gone. I can't wait to go back to the neurologist. I'm so excited to go back because he's a good guy, and tell him what's happened. And that appointment's coming up. But I just went back to the eye specialist last week. 6 months ago, he said, I'm very, very concerned about your eyes, Barry. There's lots of things going on here. I go back this week. They do all the tests. He comes in, he looks through the things, and he's looking, and he says, I don't see anything. And he steps away, and then he says, I have to look again. And he goes back and he does all the stuff again. And he said, Barry, these eyes are fine. They're fine. Now, that was 6 months ago, very concerned. 4 of those last 6 months, by the way, we've been on this product. It's, what, I know I'm taking too long, but yeah, sitting in a restaurant yesterday, me and my wife, and I hear them talking. They're so close to us, I couldn't help but overhear the conversation. And they're salesmen, and they're in the insurance business. And I know that I've got to talk to them about this. And I'm thinking, okay, how do I interrupt their conversation? I've already got my 3 cards out to give to them. And the waitress comes and takes their credit card, takes ours, comes back with the bills, gives him back their credit card, and gives my wife her credit card and the bills. And she looks, and all of a sudden we have his bill also, his receipt. It's an open door now. I've got to, I would have found a way to talk to him anyway, but this made it so much easier. I said, excuse me, but I think I've got your receipt. He looks at it and says, yeah, that is mine. I says, I couldn't help but overhear your conversation. I know you guys are in sales, and it appears you're in the insurance industry. And they all said, yep. I said, well, I've got to tell you something that is absolutely the hottest thing in the country right now. I says, I'm sure you're aware that the 70%, 77% of Americans have at least one pet in their house. Yep, they said that. I says, you're also aware, I'm sure, that you know that the pet industry is a $247 billion industry projected to triple in the next 3 to 5 years. One of the guys said, yeah, I've heard that. I said, well, here's my card. And I've given each of them the card. I said, this is all part of it. Me and my wife have seen miracles within our own family, let alone the miracles this company is creating. The one gentleman that was doing most of the talking said, well, I'm sure you don't know that this gentleman across from me is the top insurance salesman in the Western United States. I said, no, I didn't. About that time, he gets out his card and gives it to me and says, I am very interested in what you just talked about. Let's talk early next week. It's a God thing, Jerry. You and I have talked about this forever. The Lord is opening the way to get this product into the hands of so many people and animals that need this. I got to tell one more.
Please.
We've got 2 dog stories in our family. Now we've got a third. My other daughter's dog, bad shape, sick, throwing up, can't eat. Goes to the vet. She spends $1,500 and still nothing going on. They go back. She spends another $1,000 for the test, and they determined that his liver is shutting down, and they're at a loss of what to do. We get it on the secret sauce, the super sauce, twice a day. 2 weeks later, she goes back and they run the test again. And he said, everything's fine. And she says, what do you mean everything's fine? You told me it was shutting down a couple of weeks ago. And he says, well, basically the only thing I know is the machine must have been broken that we run the test on. In the meantime, she spent another $1,000. So this stuff, you can't make this up, Jerry. It's everywhere. And
Yeah,
we're all blessed to be a part of it. And thank you and Hernan for leading the way here.
Well, thank you, Barry. It comes down to understanding the miracle of life and supporting that, honoring and supporting what we were created to be, not thinking that we need to add something to it or take something away or poison something. Just allow it, support it to be the miracle that it was intended to be. It's just common sense, and the ancients even understood it. So we can bring that back again. So thank you, Barry. Thank you so much. And I don't mean that we turn our back on mainstream medicine, but I think we can impact health and wellness to the point that medicine can even change. And I think it will, because things adapt to where people's needs are. And if we as people learn more and more and more, and we start taking more responsibility and doing things to be well, medicine will follow close behind us, because it still wants to make money and it still wants to capitalize on people. So it will adapt and compensate and become better. So we ultimately can help influence even that trajectory. So that's just a part of my long-term vision and hope and prayer, really. Anyone else want to jump in? Barry, that was awesome. Anyone else want to jump in before we wrap up?
Dr. Jerry, this is Dr. Liz. I just want to say that I didn't start my video. I love this call, and I love what you just said, because I share the same exact mission. And that's what I've been thinking. If we can steer people away from drugs and natural health care and supporting their God-given immune systems and living more vital lives, that's what it's all about.
Absolutely, Dr. Liz. It is true. And most doctors realize that. It's just that we need this groundswell of people actually waking up. And I think in the last 3, 4, 5 years, people are waking up en masse.
I think so
And
too.
yeah, and using common sense things on a daily basis, just like what we can offer. We can offer them an immune system modulator, and that's the cornerstone. That's what everyone should be doing. Thank you.
Right. Thank you.
Anyone else before we want to wrap up?
Dr. Jerry, this is Deborah.
Yeah, Deborah.
So
Yeah, you were searching a couple of calls ago about neuropathy, right?
Yep. And I've been taking the 5 capsules in the morning, 5 capsules in the evening for about 6 or 7 days now. And prior to starting them, the neuropathy pain, especially in my right foot, I could barely stand on it. And now I'm walking all over my house. I still have the pain,
Wow.
still have the numbness, but I can tell you that I can see a difference in my feet that is so positive. And thank God for that.
Wow. That is very awesome. Thank you, Deborah.
Absolutely.
Keep up the work.
Yeah, I'll report my progress in a future call.
We appreciate it greatly. Thank you so much. Well, I want to thank each and every one of you for being on these calls. I know many of the team members are on these calls, even 3 times a week. We're here Sundays, Tuesdays, and Thursdays. And I know every call we have new people as well. And if you are new, get back to whomever told you about this right away. Because when I started letting people know about this in February, no one had heard of it. But word is definitely getting out. Word is starting to hit the mainstream. And it's still, you're on the threshold. But I tell you what, get started right away, because what the work you put into this to build your team will be 10 times more effective than the same amount done a year from now. So your timing could not be better. So don't let the grass grow under your feet. Get back to the person and tell them to send you a link, and you'll have 3 choices. You can be a customer. I told people, just be a customer. And many people did. And, you know, after 2, 3 weeks, they would call me and say, you know what? I didn't think I ever wanted to share anything connected with network marketing again in my life, but I like this. I want a link to share. And I'd say, go in and upgrade. You have 2 choices, advocate or influencer. They say, what's the difference? They say the difference is advocate gets paid on 2 levels, and it's pretty decent. You know, some people that's enough, 20% on the first level and 5% on the second. But an influencer gets paid on 9 levels, plus earns bonuses on packs, plus earns revenue sharing, which is real revenue sharing because I've experienced it, plus 2% to infinity as you grow your team. It's the most generous compensation plan I've ever seen. I've been on 6 advisory boards in my career. And a 55% actual payout is unheard of. And the only way a company can do that is 1, if they're debt-free, which they are. 2, if they're privately held and they don't have to pay off some investors, which they are privately held. And 3, they run a tight ship. They're very smart. One of the owners, Steve Youngblood, was the CEO of a billion-dollar company. They know when they need to spend money, they spend it, but they aren't foolish. And they're not in this for aggrandizement, for their ego, for their greed. They know what they have, and they know the world needs what they have. And they're creating a legacy. And we are all a part of that legacy. So God has truly blessed us. And thank you all for being here. We'll be back again on Sunday. Don't forget, there's a Saturday training every Saturday that's awesome. Go to petsystemguide.com and you can find the schedule there, the corporate schedule. There's also a site put up by Judy Womack. She's here, Judy W. Learn about PC. PC stands for Pet Club. It's a real good, quick overview. So a lot of people really like that, you know, to just look at something quickly and get it. Learnaboutpc.com. Thank you, everyone. We'll see you again on Sunday. God bless you. I'm very thankful to be a part of this team and a part of your lives. Thank you.